So the sort of organizing principle for my career has been, if you want to change the world, start with children. This first occurred to me at Stanford University when I was 19 years old. Okay, so I was walking around, it was the end of the 60s, the times they were a-changing, but I wasn't particularly thinking about it. I was actually walking around the campus, and this sentence came into my head: if you want to change the world, start with children. It was revelatory. And the other revelatory thing about Stanford University, this guy. This is Phil Zimbardo. It was his first year as a professor there, was my first, when I was a freshman. So huge influence, took his courses. I mean, unbelievably inspiring, amazing teacher. And I ended up majoring in psychology. And I'm sort of, this is the road to Matt. Now, Phil introduced me to Matt. And when I first met Matt, because my prism is communicating with young children, I sort of said to Matt, well, your heroism work, it's great. Now, how are you connecting with really young children? And he looked at me like, isn't that what you do? You write TV for young children. You know, I hadn't actually thought of it like that. But his daughter, Vienna, at that time, was a big fan of this guy, Mike the Knight. I'm Mike the Knight. It's time to do it right. And my other half had actually worked on developing that show and was writing it. And he was also working on another show explicitly about heroes called PJ Masks, which is about 3 little kids who turn into heroes at night when they get into their pajamas. People may know that. I'm sorry, I don't want to hit my mic. But me, I'd spent my career working for the Muppets, right? So I was putting words into the mouths of sandwiches. Sorry, I have to point it that way. Mouths of sandwiches. And what does that have to do with heroism? Actually, there is such a thing as a hero sandwich. But can a sandwich be a hero? Well, get this. Here's our sandwich. This sandwich can think. This sandwich can talk. He was made by this young woman who owns the cafe where he lives. She does not know what ingredients she put into his sandwich to make him come alive. All they know is that this is a big secret. They don't want anyone else to know. They don't want him to be taken away to some sort of freak sandwich show. So during the day, he hides on the shelf so nobody else sees him. Well, one day, after everybody had left the cafe, this guy walks in. What's our sandwich going to do? What he does is he throws himself off the top shelf screaming, and really, animation is not what I do. And lands, so a sandwich can be a hero. Now, I asked Ari if he minded that I changed his definition of a hero slightly. A hero is a person or a sandwich who, in the face of danger or adversity, or from a position of weakness, displays, I could read it off of here, couldn't I? Displays courage, bravery, or self-sacrifice for some greater good. Okay, but what does that have to do with really young kids? Well, again, Phil, great quote from Phil Zimbardo. Heroism it starts in the world of the imagination. And that is the world where children live. And a surefire way to access a child's imagination is through stories. So I got to thinking about this, and actually when I realized, and it really, I mean, it's been very influential talking to Matt about the whole Heroism project, is when we construct stories for young kids, when we're doing 3-act story structure, we basically reduce the 12 steps of the hero's journey to 4 questions. Who is our hero, which is the ordinary world? What is our hero's goal, which is the call to adventure? What is our hero's risk, which is the ordeal? And what does our hero learn, which is the elixir? So that is what determines the structure of the stories that we write for TV. Now, young kids may not know what a hero is, but if we do our job right, they'll know what heroism is before they can name it. So heroism will be a part of their imagination. How do we do it? Well, the key to creating heroes for young children, for anyone, but particularly for young children, is emotional connection. They have to see the hero as being like them, as being someone who'd be a friend, and they need to understand the context. Now, the sandwich scenario is probably too sophisticated for really young kids because they might not think of sandwiches as being friends. I mean, go figure. And they may never have been in a cafe with sandwiches, and they might not know what a thief is. So jumping on a thief's head to rescue your friend might not be meaningful, and if it's not meaningful, it's not heroic. So what contexts are meaningful to really young children? School, the playground, and home. Who needs Gotham City when you've got 3 siblings in a kitchen? Children learn from all experience, but particularly from social relationships and interactions. Their attachments and feelings are important for their moral development, and a sense of right and wrong is the foundation for heroism. Things that young children do which spring from their emotional experience may seem small to us, and we've been talking about small things that we do, but can be heroic, and they make good story, and they make good stories. So what's heroic for a young child? Noticing that someone's hurt, but not just noticing or is sad, but doing something about it. Helping with somebody put their boots on when you'd really rather be outside playing. Sharing that ice cream cone when you'd really rather have it all to yourself. And letting someone else stir the cookies first. Basically, for a young child, heroism is not putting yourself first. You know, that kind of sums it up for what it is for grown-ups too, but it's really, really, really hard for children to do. You so much want to play with your favorite Duplo girl for all sorts of reasons, but today your friend is sad, so you give it to her to play with because it makes your friend happy, and that's heroic. Here's my granddaughter, Ismay. She just turned 2. When I watch her in the playground, I see that she's already learned that if she takes off her shoes and socks, even though it's cold, if she does what the other kids do, such as taking off her shoes and socks, even though it's cold, they're more likely to play with her. So when and how does she learn what to do if the kids she wants to play with want her to do something she doesn't want to do, or that she knows is wrong? Can our children's TV heroes help with this? And the answer is yes. Research shows that children develop parasocial relationships with TV characters that they know and love. Parasocial relationships are one-sided relationships with people or characters whom we feel we know but who don't know us. For grown-ups, it can be with a celebrity or a soap star, and for kids, it's with Moana or Mike the Knight or Elmo. And the relationships that children have with their TV heroes, particularly if they also play with the toys, which is really interesting, and if their parents get involved, can positively influence behavior. I think that's just so interesting, and it's such a huge responsibility for those of us who really want to write meaningful children's television, or children's media, as now we have to call it. So if my granddaughter would find herself in a sticky situation, she can usefully ask, what would Peppa Pig do? Which I think is very sweet. Now, I wanted to tell you something about a project I've been working on. It's a global as you can see, a global multi-platform mixed media initiative combining hard facts with sheer entertainment that will connect 7 to 11-year-olds around the world on the subject of water. This is my third act endeavor. I've been working on it for a couple of years now, and when I was preparing this talk, I realized that it's also not just about water. It's also about heroism. So it's really interesting because it gave me a whole additional way of thinking about this thing I've already been thinking about for a couple of years. So the basic story is, and these are all just from Google images, so not the real characters, but she's a cute little girl. My heroine is an 11-year-old girl called Marion Peterson, and she's kind of sad because 3 years ago, her mother, who is a glaciologist, was killed in an accident, and Marion's never really recovered from this. So her father remarried, and they've moved to France with her 3 brothers, and he's really putting pressure on her to move, but she wants to stay with her grandmother, who's her mother's mother, who's a science writer. Lots of female scientists in my stuff, and now grandmothers everywhere. So that's the ordinary world. Okay, so one day Marion is going to goes into the bathroom to wash her hands before breakfast, and she turns the tap. Nothing happens. She turns the tap again. Again, nothing. She turns it further, and there's this horrible groaning sound, and a big drip forms on the end of the tap, plops into the sink, and turns into that. And we may or may not look like that, still working on the designs. That's a water Rooney, okay? Water Roonies are 99.9% water and 0.1% uni. And there are 81 of them. They arrived on the planet together 4 billion years ago, all on the same asteroid. Okay, and Marion meets 3 in this first sort of episode, and she gets it in her head through all sorts of things that I've figured out and are absolutely riveting, that she wants to find the other 78. Okay, so that's the story world, the vehicle for this whole thing. Now, our thinking behind the property is that if kids love and are amazed by water, which is the most amazing substance on the planet, then when it's their turn to manage it, they'll come at it with a mindset of appreciation and respect rather than fear and greed. They'll have emotional connection with characters that are actually water, and it might change their whole relationship to water. That's the hope. So that's the water part. Now the heroism. Okay, heroism is all about the individual. I just got to thinking about this just the other day, working on this. And as humans evolve, could we be shifting to a paradigm in which we know that we're all part of something bigger? Waves that are the ocean. We see glimmers of this when we talk about the greater good. But when we all wake up from our dream of being separate selves, what might heroism look like? Marion is a conventional individual, human heroine, but the Wateroonies are water. They have no agency, they have no agenda, they have no preferences, no decisions. If it's cold, they freeze. Hot, they evaporate, they flow, drizzle, trickle, bubble, flood, nourish, destroy. It's a very, very difficult relationship to life, which I've been thinking a lot about as I think about how to write for them. But could there be such a thing as collective heroism that Marion might learn from them? I honestly don't know. Will heroism evolve as humans evolve? Would it help to get kids thinking about this? Might the Wateroonies be the vehicle? Watch this space. Thank you.
The Hero Roundtables are the global events that ask the question, what is a hero? You've just seen one hero talk. To find more and join the conversation, visit our website or social media.